Good evening. I'm Howard Savronsky, the President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford. It's exciting to see all of you here today. But before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the significance of this day and time of the event. This evening marks the ending of Yom HaZikaron, the Israeli Day of Remembrance, for the 23,447 soldiers and civilians killed in armed combat or by the action of terrorists since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. Tonight also signals the transition from mourning to celebration with the beginning of Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day. There's no better way to mark Israel's progress since it became a democracy 68 years ago than to recognize the innovation born from what is still a relatively young country. Through this initiative, the Federation's mission to address the needs of our local community and to improve the region in which we live dovetails with our support of Israel. Our partnership these past 6 years with the MetroHartford Alliance and now with the Connecticut Economic Resource Center demonstrates how we work together to ensure that this region competes for jobs, capital, and talent and remains strong. I would like to take a moment to thank tonight's sponsors, the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development, Pullman and Comley, Universal Enterprise, Yukon Global, Yukon Health, Wellstone Insurance, Cantor Colburn, Wiggum, and Dana. It is with your support that we're all able to welcome and celebrate these Israeli companies here in Hartford today. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge special guests who are joining us this evening. Hartford's Mayor, Luke Bronin. Mayor, are you still here? I think he left. Okay. From the Office of the United States Senator Chris Murphy, Evan Johnson, Director of Economic Development and Grants. Evan, you still here? No, okay. He was here. West Hartford's own Deputy Mayor, Shari Cantor, and member of the board of the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford, and Bloomfield's Deputy Mayor, Sidney Schulman. Mayor Schulman, you here? Okay. And finally, I'd like to thank the Board of Directors and the staff of the Federation, the MetroHartford Alliance, and Connecticut Economic Resource Center for their support of this exciting venture in growing our local economy and at the same time building strong and positive bridges with the people of Israel. So getting down to business, here is how tonight's going to work. We are privileged to have with us representatives from Yukon Global and Yukon Health, whom I will introduce shortly. In addition, Commissioner Catherine Smith of the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development and Jason Giulietti from CERC will speak about the Connecticut-Israel Initiative and specifically those Israeli companies currently in the pipeline. We're fortunate to have with us tonight two of the Israeli companies that have chosen to make Connecticut their United States headquarters. They will tell us about who they are and what they do, and we will close this evening's program with plenty of time for everyone to visit the exhibit booths in the back, meet new neighbors, and continue exciting conversations we started tonight. Now I'd like to introduce Daniel Weiner, Vice President of Global Affairs at the University of Connecticut. Dan Weiner joined the University of Connecticut in 2012 as Vice Provost for Global Affairs and Professor of Geography. In February 2016, he was appointed Vice President for Global Affairs. Dr. Weiner serves as the university's Chief Academic Officer for Global Affairs and is responsible for the development and oversight of a wide variety of university initiatives relating to international efforts. He advances the university's commitment to internationalization and facilities coordination among the university's internal and external programs and initiatives. Previously, Dan served as executive director of the Center for International Studies at Ohio University and a director of the Office of International Programs at West Virginia University. He received BA, MA, and PhD in geography from Clark University. Can I introduce Dan Weeder? Dr. Dan Weeder.
Let somebody come from the back door.
Yeah, you came in from the back door, okay.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak today at the Connecticut-Israel Innovations Showcase. Many thanks to Commissioner Smith, the organizer of this event, and its sponsors. I arrived at the University of Connecticut 4 years ago. I walked into my office and the desk was empty, but there was one fax. This is a true story. And the fax was from the Consul General of Israel in New York, Ido Ahari. And it basically was a fax to President Herbst saying, I would like to visit University of Connecticut and look at academic relationships between Israel and the state of Connecticut. So I contacted him and I said, Ido, what do you want to do when you're here? He said 3 things. I want to meet the coach, Jim Calhoun. Okay. I do want to meet the president. Sure, that's appropriate. And if there's time, I'd love to meet some students at Hillel. I said we could arrange that too. So the meeting took place in Jim Calhoun's office. It was a very tight schedule. And I'm sitting in there, and it was like an out-of-body experience where they're talking about specific plays of the 1989 season. And I'm sitting there like Willis Reed picture on the wall and Ray Allen, and I'm like, am I in a dream here? And then it's like 9:45, 10 to 10, I'm thinking, how am I gonna get out of here? Because these guys can go for hours. They can go forever talking about basketball, and I've got to meet President Herbst. So we finally got out of there, and we went to see the president. He had already invited the coach to Israel, and he invited the president to Israel. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. I'm going to have the president and the coach. How's that going to work? And I'll tell you about that in a minute. What was interesting to me was this notion of a dream season in 1989 that they talked about. And the other thing that was interesting is that Ido was a student in Boston that year, and Nadav Hennefeld was a student athlete at the University of Connecticut. Of course, Jerome Sheffer played at UConn from 1993 to 1996. And I realized at that moment that UConn and Connecticut was very important for the people of Israel through basketball. I did not know that. I started remembering when I was in West Virginia, and you can tell from my accent that's where I'm from. Every time I opened my mouth in West Virginia, people would stop talking and think they were watching some reality TV show. It didn't really work very well. But I remember Israeli flags. You remember this, and I was like, wow, that's unusual. Fast forward 1 year later. We're in Israel, President Herbst, Coach Calhoun, make a long story short. Coach Calhoun had been to Yad Vashem many times, the Holocaust Memorial, and so he wasn't there. Well, I was with President Herbst, whose father was the last bar mitzvah in Nuremberg, which is amazing. I was with Rochelle Rubin, whose both parents are Holocaust survivors, and they live in West Hartford. And my wife was there, whose father, who's in Buenos Aires, was in 7 concentration camps, work camps, and helped form the Israeli Air Force. So it was a heavy moment where we're preparing to go to the Holocaust Memorial. And we're not looking at each other, we're just sort of, getting ready emotionally. They put us on the side, and the guide comes over, and he looks at us and he says, "Where's the coach?" So we were getting ready emotionally for the Holocaust. He just wanted to talk about UConn basketball. That visit paved the way for deep and wide collaboration between the University of Connecticut, Israeli scientists, and higher education institutions. I'll just give you a couple of very, very quick examples, because we are working throughout the State of Israel. In Bar-Ilan University, we have a new exchange with the Faculty of Law. At the University of Haifa, we work with the Interdisciplinary Center for Broader Application of Geniza Research, which is an amazing project looking at Jews in Cairo. We work with Marine Sciences. Israel discovers gas. Israel doesn't have the technology to understand how to get the gas and how to deal with environmental issues. What do? You create it. We're working with them on that. We have a new student exchange program at University of Haifa. Hebrew University, we signed an MOU with Hebrew University. Archaeology, math, political science, philosophy, law, human rights, cognitive and brain sciences. The Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya, we have a new exchange program there, fantastic place for University of Connecticut students to study in Israel. The Technion, we're doing all kinds of things with the Technion, including fundraising. I was delighted to meet with the ATS representative today. Physics and math, stem cell research, sustainable energy, material sciences, autonomous systems, Ben Gurion University, quantum mechanics, anthropology, archaeology, water, Tel Aviv University, the Sackler School of Medicine. That's our Sackler. Connecticut Sackler. We're now working with the Sackler School. The Center for Health Intervention and Prevention. I can go on. And the Weizmann Institute, right? The CEO of the Technology Transfer Unit of the Weizmann Institute is one of our graduates. And about a month ago, we had a workshop with the Weizmann Institute on metabolic diseases, Yale, UConn, Jackson Labs, and Weizmann Institutes. It obviously gives me great pleasure to mention those 4 institutions in the same sentence. And we continue to do basketball diplomacy. You know, I'm a New Yorker, and you gotta enjoy that. But Doron Sheffer was here last year to talk about his spiritual journey. It's actually very, very powerful. So we're doing all kinds of things, and we're very, very excited about it. In conclusion, our rapidly growing scientific and business collaboration in Israel and with Israelis is one piece of the foundation for the changing Connecticut innovation infrastructure. Obviously, Connecticut has been innovative for a very, very long time. It's just the nature of the innovation, the types of companies is changing. Global Connecticut, which is a term I'm increasingly using because foreign companies are coming here and teaching us who live in Connecticut how wonderful this place is. Global Connecticut has outstanding human capital, a high-quality lifestyle, world-class schools, and is an ideal location. And by the way, we like to talk about how New York and Boston are on both sides of Connecticut. It's true. We are attracting the best and brightest minds from all over the world, and they are bringing their businesses too. So for the University of Connecticut, 1989-1990 was a dream season in men's basketball that started something special. It is now a global story, and obviously women's basketball is off the charts in terms of their success. It looks as if 2016 will be the dream season for Israeli innovation that locates in the state of Connecticut. And like basketball, it's certainly the beginning of something very special. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce and welcome Dr. Isaac Moss, Assistant Professor of Orthopedic Surgery at the Comprehensive Spine Center at UConn Musculoskeletal Institute, which is part of UConn Health. Isaac Moss is a fellowship-trained spine surgeon and assistant professor in the Department of Orthopedic Surgery and the Comprehensive Spine Center at UConn Musculoskeletal Institute. Dr. Moss completed his residency training in the renowned University of Toronto Orthopedic Program, where he was awarded the Lawson Family Postgraduate Fellowship as the department's top graduate. After completion of his residency, Dr. Moss received specialized training in advanced spinal and scoliosis surgery at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, where he developed expertise in treating a variety of complex spinal disorders under the guidance of internationally recognized surgeons. Dr. Moss's clinical focus is on the treatment of all disorders of the neck and back. He has specific interest in conditions related to both spinal degeneration and deformity. He has extensive experience in minimally invasive surgery, MIS, solutions to many spinal ailments. Dr. Moss has a master's degree in biomedical engineering. He's been recognized with several awards and scholarships for his involvement in cutting-edge research to develop novel biological therapies for the intervertebral disc degeneration. He's a member of the North American Spine Society and the Orthopedic Research Society. Dr. Moss is also a respected member of our greater Hartford Jewish community, a fellow of the Wexner Heritage Leadership Program, and a great friend to the Federation. Yitz Moss.
Thanks, Howard. It's nice that my mom writes such a nice introduction. I feel very tall. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about robotic spine surgery. How many of you fly on a regular basis? I would imagine a lot. So imagine you're walking onto this airplane and you stop by the cockpit, you talk to the pilot, and you say, you're going from Tel Aviv to New York City, let's say, and you say, so, what's your plan? What's your flight plan? How are you going to go? There's a lot of countries that maybe we don't want to fly over. And he says, don't worry, I've been doing this for a long time. We'll figure it out when we're in the air. So you have two choices right now. You turn around, you walk off the plane, you go sit down, take your Ambien, and hope for the best. Remember that. So spinal surgery is used all over the world to relieve pain and suffering. It gives people a chance to regain function and get back to productive lives. Spinal problems affect everybody. It doesn't discriminate against people, race, gender, age. Anybody can have these problems. And really, to do this, we only do two things in spine surgery. We take things out and we put things in. So meaning we can take out bone, discs, tumors, all these things that are pressing on nerves. And then sometimes we put things in to stabilize the spine. In the past, spinal stabilization involved putting in bone graft along the spine, putting people in body casts, and then often lying in bed for months on end. And obviously this is not a great thing. It doesn't get you back to function. So over the past 20 years, we've really made some amazing strides. We can now internally brace the spine with a variety of implants. The most common one is called a pedicle screw. So a pedicle screw is a screw that's about a 1/4 inch diameter, 2 inches wide, and we put it in a column of bone called the pedicle. So putting a big screw in a big bone sounds easy enough, but the problem is within millimeters of these big bones are things like the spinal cord, spinal nerves, the aorta, and lots of things. So you have to be pretty careful. So right now the standard of care for spine surgery is a similar stage to what the pilot answered. There's no real detailed flight plan. So surgeons review preoperative imaging very carefully. They do make a mental plan of what they're going to do, and then they implement it when they get into the operating room. And most of the time, this turns out very well. It takes about 15 years to become a spine surgeon, much to the chagrin of my wife. And after putting in about 1,000 or 2,000 screws, you get pretty good at it, and you know where they need to go. But, again, don't tell my mom, we're not perfect. And sometimes there's a certain incidence of misplaced screws, and sometimes this even requires reoperation. Complicate the issue further is minimally invasive surgery, which is now becoming very popular. So traditional surgery for the spine involved opening up the spine and directly visualizing the anatomy so that then we can do what we need to do and put in the implants or whatever else we needed to do. But this caused sort of a lot of collateral damage to tissues. So there's been a push as technology has evolved to develop less invasive techniques. So this is what's called minimally invasive surgery, meaning trying to do the same thing but with less collateral damage to tissues. These are done through small incisions, sparing muscles and things like that. The difficulty is we no longer have a view of what we're doing. So you're doing things and you use a combination of experience, feel, sometimes imagination, and a lot of intraoperative X-ray. And X-rays use radiation, as most of you know, to look through the body to see what we can do. And X-rays are very safe in limited doses. Then most of you have gone to the doctor and get a chest X-ray. But if you're getting exposed to radiation every day, like some of us who, occupationally, so in this case, the surgical team, you could develop complications. So we have two competing interests. We want to develop less invasive ways to do spinal surgery. We want to do it with reduced complications, with faster recovery times, but we also want high accuracy and high safety for both the patients and the whole operating room team. So this is a bit of a conflict, and the Mazor robot guiding system, which is what I'm here to talk about, which is an Israeli company, really has changed this paradigm and turns these competing interests into synergy. Mazor is a company that's based in Caesarea, Israel. It was founded in 2001 by Professor Moshe Shoham and Eli Zahavi. And it was based on Professor Shoham's work at Technion. So when I mention robot, everyone's thinking of this automaton coming into the operating room and doing the operation instead of the surgeon. This would be good for my free time, but unfortunately our technology is not at that Star Trek level yet. So the Mazor system actually functions to guide the surgeon's hands to do what we do anyways, but do it in a more accurate manner. There's three components to the technology. There's a very sophisticated planning software, there's a workstation, and then there's an actual little robotic guidance unit. So what happens is, if you were going to have spinal surgery that necessitated this kind of complex planning, you would have a preoperative CAT scan, which gives you a very detailed picture of the bones. The software constructs a virtual 3D model of your spine, and then the surgeon can go with 1.3 millimeter accuracy and plan exactly where you're going to put the screws, how many screws you're going to need, the exact sizes, and have a very robust flight plan prior to ever stepping foot in the operating room. Then you take this, you transfer it to a workstation, and this workstation then helps you control a robot, and the robot is literally the size of a Coke can with an arm on it. So it's the most expensive Coke can in the world. Leave it to the Israelis to innovate. And then this Coke can then take your 3D plan and implement it into the operation when we're doing it. So there are many spinal navigation systems out there. They all rely on different technologies. What's special about this current technology, the Mazor robot, is that other systems, they can make these virtual 3D models while you're doing the operation, and they can actually, you can see this 3D picture of what you're doing, but there's no planning required, and you're actually still freehanding, putting this implant in by freehand. The difference of the robot is that, number one, you're forced to make this very, very precise plan, and second of all, it's actually guiding your hand to make sure what you're doing is done better and safer for your patients. The Mazor system has been used in over 7,500 procedures worldwide to put in 45,000 pedicle screws at least. Based on published studies, the accuracy is 98.3%. And in one study where no screw deviated more than 2 millimeters from the plan that was out there. So it's extremely, the most accurate system on the market. And this results in less intraoperative radiation to both the surgeon, the whole operating room team, as well as the patients. It allows less complications, less reoperation rates, and it also allows surgeons to do really more complicated things in less invasive ways. So it's really a big step forward. As many of you know, at UConn Health, we'll be opening our new university tower next week. So this is an amazing state-of-the-art 11-story building that has really as much technology as a space shuttle. Private rooms for every patient. It's going to be a very great place to work. And in addition to the new physical building, over the past few years, we've been sort of virtually building a state-of-the-art spine center. And this includes orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, physiatry, physical therapy, a spinal surgery training program, and also a quite robust regenerative medicine program trying to put me out of business by fixing the spine with biology instead of surgery. I'm very proud that UConn Health is the first and only hospital in New England to be able to offer the Mazor robot to their patients. Using the system, myself and the other surgeons in the hospital can now do very complex procedures with greater accuracy, less invasion, and now I have a very extremely detailed flight plan and a little green co-pilot to help me in the OR. The purchase of the Mazor robotic guiding system was made possible by the Bioscience Connecticut Initiative, which is responsible for all the building you see in Farmington, as well as some other things. And it represents a significant investment by a Connecticut institution in an Israeli product. It was the company's 100th installation worldwide, and we began working on this about 2 years ago. And I'm fortunate and very proud to have been part of bringing the state-of-the-art Israeli technology to the citizens of Connecticut. I hope that this evening, as well as the partnership between Connecticut Innovations, UConn Global, and the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford will spawn strong relationships between other Israeli companies and really it causes cross-pollination between our state and our incredible country in the East. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm Bob Sandy. I'm the president of CIRC. I'm also a frustrated singer, so if somebody would take a picture of me so I can send it to my son who's trying to make it as a musician in New York, I'm on the stage at Infinity Hall, right? Isn't that great? This event has such a great vibe to it, and it just is an indication of how far we've come in the years that this partnership has been in place. And I want to start by saying I'm a latecomer. Where is Sandra Johnson? Is Sandra still there? She is, right in back. So I was at an event. Most of you know Sandra, who worked for the Alliance and really put this effort together 6 years ago. Maybe it was 5 years ago. She came up to the event and she started pounding her fist. She said, "Bob, you didn't come to our event last night. Our Israeli, you weren't there, and you've got to be there. I didn't know. I didn't have any idea. And look where we are today with the effort that's gone on. So thank you to Sandra for that. Appreciate that. Oh, I will. I have other people to thank too. I really just want to thank the Federation and the Alliance, UConn, the partners that have come together. What's made this work? And gee, I'm sorry I'm the fifth person to say this, but the collaboration between these organizations. People talk about collaboration a lot. My card now says collaboration at work. It's our tagline. We believe in it. We really do. And this is a collaboration that's worked. I want to say one thing about what Dan said about Boston and New York and Connecticut. And this is a mantra that I've tried to change a little bit. What do we always say? We're the state that's halfway between Boston and New York. How about we're the state that's the center of a region that includes Boston and New York? Okay? Because those are our assets. That's where we live. So we really should do that. If you don't know CIRC, let me say that we are a not-for-profit economic development corporation that is a partnership between the state's utilities. So if there are any of my funders here, thank you very much. And the State Department of Economic and Community Development. What we've tried to do is support the state in its efforts in a number of different ways over the years. And Catherine Smith, who I'm about to introduce to you, said to us a couple of years ago, we really need to be doing more in recruitment. And we want CIRC to play that role for us. We want you to be out there bringing companies to us, qualified companies that want to be in Connecticut, so we can incentivize them to be here. And if really you think about the stuff that started with the Federation and the MetroHartford Alliance, Catherine was the person that operationalized it. She said, I'm willing to put some money where my mouth is and fund an operation so that we can bring companies to Connecticut from Israel. And as a result of that, we now have over 75 qualified leads from Israel that are interested in the state of Connecticut. And you're going to hear from a couple of people who have made that commitment to this state. So it's just a tremendous story. And I want to thank Catherine for her leadership and for her partnership, and let you hear from her directly about what this program has really meant. Catherine Smith.
Good evening, everyone. It does feel a little more formal than it felt earlier talking to all of you individually, so it's really a pleasure to be with all of you on this very historic day. On behalf of the governor, I just wanted to thank everyone for all the collaboration you've heard so much about. I'm not going to say it all over again because it does take a whole community to make things happen. But I really especially want to thank the Federation and CIRC and Oz and the entire MetroHartford Alliance staff, because it really has proven that we can be so much stronger when we work together and link elbows and make some things happen. When I came on board with the governor 5 years ago now, one of the things that we really wanted to start working on was foreign direct investment. I think we recognized that with Ann Evans' support at the U.S. Commerce Department, we had done a pretty good job of helping companies export. And so we had developed a lot of programs. We go to the air show. Some of us, including Jason, who you'll meet in a minute, went to Hanover and Medica and Bio and a few other shows, and helping our companies get access to foreign markets. But very importantly, we wanted to start doing the opposite, to find the countries, the people around the globe that could really benefit from being in a location like Connecticut, to really build upon the enormous strengths of the state that you heard about earlier, that global Connecticut that was described so well by Dan Wiener. So we put in place a team, and we have one of the team members here tonight, Aaron Knight, I said tonight, Aaron Knight. There's a lot of knights in that sentence, but Aaron is an integral part of that group that's really working together with many of you to locate the firms in some of these countries that are really ideally located or ideally suited to be here in Connecticut. And Israel has been right at the top of our list from day one. And it's really, in part, because of a group of us went to Israel, and again, many people in this room were on that trip, and it was a great example, actually, of a small group of people representing a big group here in Connecticut with the Federation on board. UConn was with us. MetroHartford Alliance was with us. That was a really great team effort to get over there and really, really understand the enormous opportunities that ecosystem represents. And, I read that book, Startup Nation, before I went, and I was kind of a little skeptical, but it truly is an amazing startup nation. And we've been able to secure and find now some of those startup companies that are in that startup nation who really run out of market space, really, in Israel, because the 7 million people that are there can only consume so much, and they want to get to a bigger market. The United States, of course, looks like a very good spot to land. And they all are saying, well, where should we go in the United States? And many people land in New York or in Boston who are aggressively going after them. And of course, they have kind of brand names, if you will, globally for lots of reasons. And what we found, though, was that there were a lot of those companies that are starting to think about where to be in the United States that really recognized that maybe not being in one of those two major metropolitan areas where the costs are a lot higher, access to the players you want to meet may be more challenging just because it's a big market. That a place like Connecticut, where we are a small community, where we do introduce people very easily to one another, where we really can make a difference for small companies trying to get a leg up in this state and in this country, that could be really, really helpful to them. And so with a bit more effort, and you're going to hear from Jason in a second about some of the things he does on the ground to make sure that companies learn about us and have an opportunity to investigate Connecticut and actually see the real benefits of the state. With those kind of support systems now in place over the last year or so, we've really seen a dramatic increase in the number of companies that are saying, yeah, let me take a look at Connecticut. Maybe Connecticut will be a great state for me. Tonight we have, you've heard before, H2O Farm here, and this is remarkable to me, that they can produce 1 million, I'm going to get the numbers wrong probably, but 1 million heads of lettuce per acre per week. Did I get that right? Per year. That's still a lot of lettuce. I was explaining, I'm trying to get just my lettuce to come out of the ground in my garden. It's barely getting a leg up with this chilly weather we've been having. But they're great here. And SolView, which has technology developed to identify the ideal locations for solar panels on roofs and help our communities, our people, our solar companies get a leg up with information. So we're so proud that they've chosen Connecticut. And I know there's many, many more companies behind them. And we've looked not just at, kind of why the cultural aspects are very good for the fit, but also the overlap, the enormous overlap in the kinds of industries that we're both very strong in, like bioscience, like technology and green technologies in particular, like aerospace. There's just enormous amounts of opportunities, I think, in those industries and others for us to partake of really collaborative situations. So we're very excited. We know the street is a two-way street. It's not just companies coming here and settling here as they expand into the U.S. market, but it's the work that's being done at UConn to give back to Israel in terms of research and development as well. So I'm really thrilled with the progress that we've made. We've been putting feelers into other markets as well, and sometimes things just come together in a nice way, and with, the entire community participating to really accelerate the expansion and opportunities. And I think Israel is exactly that kind of perfect fit for the state of Connecticut. So it's really, really exciting to have the celebration tonight of the progress. And I think a year from now, we'll be talking about perhaps tens of companies, not just a handful. I have to point out, because I see him in the back, Dave Werzer, and I know Michael Cantor is here as well from Connecticut Innovations. They are our absolute partner in this effort of bringing young companies in, and we've actually created a little package, if you will, to make it easier for companies to come and give them easy access to capital to get them started, and then over time access to equity and other types of support from Connecticut Innovation. So we're really excited about the prospects for the future, and I'm sure if you know people in Israel that you will send them our direction. So again, we're really excited about the opportunities, and I will say that the other organization that has made a huge difference, and this is where Jason comes in, is CERC. Bob mentioned a couple of years ago, we talked about expanding our ability to work through CERC on our foreign direct investment and international work in general. And Jason joined the team. Jason Giletti, who's our next speaker, joined the team there about 18 months ago. I've had the pleasure of traveling with him now and seeing him in action in Hanover, Germany, which is one of the biggest manufacturing trade shows in the whole world. And Jason represents our state incredibly well. And again, he's done a magnificent job when we bring companies into the state to give them the really perfect tour of all the assets in the state. So let me have Jason come out and say a few words to you. And again, thanks so much for being here tonight and for your support of Connecticut. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Catherine, for those kind words, and thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. We very much appreciate it. So you've heard a lot about the fact that we have a strong relationship with Israel, we have a strong pipeline and a diversity of clients that we've been working with and businesses interested in coming to Connecticut. So I just want to give you a taste and a little flair for what that means. So we here at CERC have worked really hard to generate right now we're at a little over 80 active leads, so 80 businesses from Israel looking to basically come into the United States through the East Coast is how we've sort of defined it. And with that is that we try to pull them right into Connecticut. So we see the competitive advantage that you've heard today around the location, the workforce, and the community that is a really essential piece of the puzzle. So we're working those leads very hard. Right now, of those, 65 are very, very active in a way that I could say active in a sense that they are actively coming here, they're pursuing interests, they're looking at building relationships and looking at creating an operation. The companies here tonight are just a few examples of what we have, but let me just give you a perspective on these 80 or so leads that we have and what we do with them when they come here. So far we've had a little over 20 visits from Israeli companies over the last year into Connecticut. These are unsolicited. I mean, we basically wine and dine them on why Connecticut, but it's done video meetings, it's done phone calls, but they've actually had that much interest that on their own dime have flown to Connecticut to come meet us and see what we're talking about and actually test us and see what we can do for them to help them welcome them into Connecticut and their business. So of those 20 plus meetings, we've had over 100 individual meetings with companies, associations, universities, other folks that support the ecosystem that exists here, community members. The Jewish Federation, the MetroHartford Alliance have been instrumental in this. And those 100 plus meetings have resulted in a variety of things. And often, in many cases, pilot projects. We set up meetings with executives at companies that see the technology, see the potential, and then want to sign deals immediately because they see the potential from these Israeli firms. And it just helps those companies see how welcoming and how instrumental we can be in helping set up their operation here in Connecticut. So we really try to roll out that red carpet and provide them everything related to being supportive in the ecosystem. In addition, we've had over 150 video and phone meetings with Israeli companies in the last year, just to give you a scope of how much activity just with Israel we are doing at CERC. So it really has helped expedite the interest of these companies. And Israel's a small country. Word spreads very quickly. And many of you know, because you've been involved at these meetings, that we see more companies now coming through the pipeline in a really positive way. And the word spreads. And all of a sudden, the dam has burst in a really good way. These meetings also have secured an ecosystem of resource partners within different targeted industries. Commissioner Smith mentioned we have primary industries, financial technology, healthcare IT, medical devices, medical instruments, information technology, green technology, and life sciences have really been a core group of the industries that we've targeted. And these companies see it. They see what's here in Connecticut and they see the potential. And it's been a really good partnership for us to leverage. In addition, just to give you a flair of some of the companies, in addition to SolView and H2O Farm that are here tonight, I'm not going to give you the names of the companies, but I'll give you the different types of companies so you get a sense of where they are. But these are ones that literally, I would say in the next several months, we'll be relocating to Connecticut. We're that far along. So we have a medical device instrument that is coming in that provides non-invasive back treatment. They are very unique technology, work in the chiropractor space, and are now moving to the neck. Very, very neat technology, proven sales other parts of the world. And all these companies, by the way, working everywhere else in the world outside of the United States. So we are very attractive because they want to break not only into the Connecticut, but the U.S. market. So their strategy using Connecticut as that vehicle is really good. We then have the solar optimization company, SolarView, that's here. We have a big data company that provides competitive intelligence for global companies that have operations all around the world to be able to interface with one another like they're in the room next door to you. And it's quite amazing. The technology's here. They have clients like Bank of America Worldwide, Ford Motor Company, very, very large companies, and they want to come to Connecticut, and they see the advantage of Fairfield County, for example, being close to the city, but being located in a less expensive area here in Connecticut. We have preventative technology applications. Technology in Israel, as you can imagine, is huge with other exits like Waze and companies that we've all heard of. But the technology that they're able to utilize for the health sector is quite amazing. There's been applications that can prevent or monitor chronic diseases that trigger automatic notifications to physicians to provide treatments electronically and virtually. There's other companies that do predictive analytics using your cell phone for mental health. So somebody that has mental health issues and kind of needs some nurturing and not necessarily going to be in front of a physician or a therapist all the time can actually, through their phone, monitor exactly their behaviors. And now that therapist can, ping that person live time to encourage their behavior in a different way and monitor and treat that person like they're right there with them, which is quite amazing. We have a company that has optimized waste management. Again, we're all over the map, but in a really good way. This company came here and signed some pilot with a company here in Connecticut during their visit and are expediting their move into Connecticut, which is great. We have a very innovative company that's taken a model around call centers. This company employs right now in Israel over about 500 employees that hire people specifically with physical disabilities. An amazing story. They fill a huge void in the population. They want to expand into the United States and do that here in Connecticut. They saw the advantages. We have some very unique things in Connecticut. We actually have a governor appointee position to the disability community in Connecticut. We have a strong strength in call centers here in Connecticut as well. And you see the relationships that exist. This guy wants to come in here. He's had Bill Clinton visit his facility. I think 32 other countries have come in and wanted that type of model in their country, and he's chosen Connecticut versus every other state to come in and start this operation. So it's a very good diversity of companies. I'll share that we are doing everything we can to provide concierge service to these companies. When I say concierge service, many of you in the room have met with these companies. We set them up with business meetings. We set them up with associations, and anybody that can help really welcome them in. So with that's really where we are in the pipeline, just to give you a taste of these Israeli companies. Several of you will continue to meet them. I'm happy to bring anybody here in the audience that wants to participate in this and set up meetings when we have Israeli companies visit. We just had one yesterday that signed 2 deals with 2 different companies here in Connecticut, so the list continues to grow. I also want to thank several people in the room because I definitely appreciate all the support we've been getting. Aaron Knight back there from DECD, an incredible resource on Commissioner Smith's team. The folks at the MetroHartford Alliance, Laura from the Federation, thank you. Brad from Pullman and Comley. The team has been very, very helpful. The folks at UConn, Dan, thank you. It's been a great team, and we're looking to build that team. So the more folks we have with us, the more powerful we can be. So with that, thank you very much. And I want to introduce our next speaker, who is with Universal Enterprise. This is Israel Rabinowitz. Mr. Rabinowitz has over 30 years experience in real estate. To give you his bio, in 1982, Mr. Rabinowitz invested in the first residential real estate property and continued buying and selling mostly residential property in the New York area for about 20 years. In addition to his real estate investing, he owned and operated a mortgage banker and seller service business from 1986 to 2001. In 2002, he returned to real estate and business by engaging in and buying, managing office buildings, mixed-use property, and residential property. Over the years, he's done many deals in rehabbing, selling multifamilies, both in New York and over the years here in Connecticut. His portfolio exists of many different buildings, mixed-use, residential properties, and has managed and operated his company and his professional team, Universal Enterprise. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Rabinowitz to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, for the introduction. Thank you, Becky Nolan, for this honor tonight of introducing Ofer Satka, the CEO and founder of Solview and other great companies. Initially, when Becky emailed me to introduce Ofer, I sent her back an email asking her how long I can speak. Her response didn't come right away. Sorry, prepared about an hour speech. Then a couple of days ago, she sends me an email saying it's just 2 minutes. So I had to drastically cut down that speech. I was going to talk about my personal connection to Israel. I go very often, probably once every other month, and my personal, emotional, religious connection that I have to Israel, but I guess we'll leave that for another time. I take the liberty to thank the Commissioner Catherine Smith of CERC and her great team for their efforts and the noble work of connecting Connecticut to Israel. I also wish to thank Oz Griebel and his team of the Hartford Metro Alliance and, of course, the Jewish Federations. It is their combined efforts of these and other great organizations that gives me the pleasure tonight and honor to introduce and welcome Ofer Satka. Ofer, which I understand will be moving to West Hartford in the near future, I welcome you to the greater Hartford area and Connecticut as a whole. When I met Chaim Oren at the MetroHartford meeting, and then recently in Tel Aviv, you can see in his eyes the excitement of these great accomplishments that we're hearing and seeing here tonight. I once read, living on Earth may be expensive, but includes an annual free ride around the sun. With the technology of Solview, I believe we will have more than just a free ride. We will have light, warmth, and prosperity. Thank you, Ofer. And with that, I would like to call you up and introduce your company. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those kind words. Hi, I'm Ofer Satka. I'm the CEO and founder of Solview, and I just want to start off by saying it's a real honor and privilege for me to stand here before you today, especially in this special day for Israel and our Independence Day. It's exciting, and I appreciate the opportunity. So, when was the last time you climbed on a roof? It's probably a long time ago. But apparently, you've been missing out. In the last 3 years, millions of rooftops have been installed with solar systems globally, and they're saving each customer thousands of dollars on an annual basis. Yet, the process of going solar remains inefficient. You have to make an appointment, then a solar professional will come up to your house, he'll climb up on the roof, takes all kinds of measurements, and then he's going to provide you with a proposal you're not going to take, because you probably want to hear a few more of those before you make up your mind. So this entire process is slow, it's cumbersome, and it's costly. And at the end of the day, this is impacting very dramatically on what we call customer acquisition for solar. Actually, today they price it around $4,000 for every new residential customer that puts on a solar system. This is a ridiculous high amount. And this is exactly where Solview comes in. Solview has developed an innovative platform that analyzes aerial imagery and extracts the solar potential of every rooftop. You just type in an address, and you get an instant analysis that includes visual placement of panels, includes cost estimation, production, savings, even the internal rate of return. Now, this is nice, but here's the real interesting part. Because the process is automated, we don't do that for a single rooftop, or 2 rooftops, or 3. We do that for millions of rooftops at a time. And then we allow solar companies to utilize that information scan vast areas, identify those non-prospects, which are around 70-80% of the entire population, and just focus on the best prospects for solar. In essence, what we're helping them to do is what we call targeted marketing. This is increasing conversion rates while reducing customer acquisition costs. And when you reduce the cost, you make solar more affordable for everyone, and thus increase adoption. And this is what Solvay is all about. Solvay is also able to identify those extra better rooftops that you can install a system on in half the standard time, and then also save on the operation side, because if any of you guys try to install a solar system, you probably know it takes usually more than 1 day. So if you are able to identify those extra better rooftops, which you can install on half of the time, then you make the system actually even cheaper. Our technology is based on patent-pending algorithms and image analysis and computer vision, basically allowing us to analyze aerial imagery, look at rooftops, extract contours, planes, directions, do data fusion with weather maps, financial resources, utility rates, so you can provide this bottom line for every rooftop, this financial clear statement. Are you good for solar or are you not? And the fact that we can do it on an automated basis allows us to do that for millions of rooftops at the time. Solvay's platform, Solvay itself was established almost 3 years ago with a seed investment by the Israeli chief scientist in recognition of our unique technology and its ability to impact the solar market. Less than a year ago, the platform became commercially available, and we were very fortunate to have one of the key players in the US have joined us as our first customer. This is SunPower. And we've been generating significant revenue since. As of last month, we've started a major pilot project with Solar City, which is widely regarded as the industry leader. And now we are moving ahead and closing the deal with the state of Connecticut, which is a major step for us. We are going to open our sales office here. We're going to create new jobs. And basically, we're going to drive the solar revolution from here, from Hartford, Connecticut. And it's not just on the business level, it's also for the family level. My family and I are going to move here this summer. And I think what's the main attraction for us here is this unique ecosystem that combines academia with government, with business, and with community. When they all are intertwined together, it creates an ecosystem that is, in a sense, a very soft landing for any, definitely any Israeli startup that does and wants to do business here in the US. So we're very excited and I think honored by the warmth and welcome that we have received from this community, and we are very eager to join it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ofer, and for telling us about your exciting company. I have the privilege of introducing, and my name is Brad Bunshine, by the way, from Pullman and Comley. I have the privilege of presenting Lior Hessel from H2O Farm. Now, many of you have heard and seen the lettuce back there, and please make sure that you take some on your way home. It is for you to bring home for sampling. But before I introduce Lior, I did want to just make sure that folks here really know what it takes to put on an event like this and to put on a program that really honors what Connecticut is doing with the state of Israel. So first of all, I want to thank Event Resources for helping us out tonight, and Arnold Berman, I know you're back there. Thank you. And you know, I really think we should recognize and give a round of applause to Becky Nolan and Laura Zimmerman, because they really have worked very hard to make sure that this is a successful event. So H2O Farm is a farm that's located in Guilford, Connecticut, and you'll hear more about it in a minute. They decided to locate here last fall, and they're literally growing. And I'm so excited to have gotten to know them. And so I want to introduce to you Lior Hessel from H2O Farm.
Good evening. My name is Lior Hessel. I am the founder of Groponics. Groponics is the company that developed the technology that enables us to build these hydroponic greenhouse factories. What we do is we build greenhouse factories that are fully automated, and we grow vegetables in a controlled environment using computers. Do that is because we want to grow more efficiently, to save on water, to save to preserve the environment as much as we can, and most importantly, we want to grow local. And the reason we want to grow local is because it stopped making sense bringing all the produce from California, especially in this country, in America. Everybody knows that produce comes from the West Coast, from California, Arizona. Specifically, leafy vegetables come from Salinas Valley in California. And the reason is that's where it used to be the easiest to grow. But that's not the case anymore. Transportation costs have gone up. Growing costs have gone up in California, and the result is that vegetables have become too expensive, and especially if you want the good quality. So Americans want local production, and it turns out that we have the best technology in the world for enabling local production of vegetables, especially leafy vegetables. And we saw this as a huge opportunity. And when I say a huge opportunity, leafy vegetables are probably over $10 billion a year just in the United States. And everything comes from California. Well, maybe not everything, but 95%. So we teamed up with an Israeli pharma company called CTS, and we decided to penetrate the American market for our technology, which is building these hydroponic greenhouse factories that would enable local production. And we came to the States and started looking for a location. It didn't take us very long to figure out that Connecticut was probably the best choice for us, for our first farm, and for our U.S. headquarters. For all the reasons that you've heard up until now. We found an amazing community. We found unbelievable cooperation from the government. Almost everybody we met wanted to help us. And for that reason, we chose Connecticut but we looked at other states. To be honest, we looked at all the neighboring states, from New Jersey to Massachusetts. But like I said, Connecticut was the first choice, and we built we've just finished building the farm in Guilford. It's operational, not fully operational yet, but it's operational. It's already producing and selling. And we are already considering our next step, which is to expand and build more of this production capability to supply the huge local demand for leafy vegetables and for vegetables in general. Just to give you some numbers, to ship a head of lettuce from California costs about 80 cents. It costs less for us to grow it here. So the question is, why isn't anybody doing it up until now? Why didn't people do it before, and why aren't more people doing it now? And the answer is simple. It's technology. We spent 15 years and probably about $8 million in R&D developing this patented technology that enables us to grow lettuce so efficiently, because almost anybody can grow lettuce. The question is, at what price and efficiency? And I personally used to be a high-tech engineer. I used to work at the silicon equipment manufacturing industry. And that's where the experience came from. All of the people that helped develop this technology are high-tech engineers and agronomists. And what we tried to do is and I think we pretty much succeeded in putting together the most advanced growing system that's available today in the world. And the result is we can grow a head of lettuce cheaper than anybody else in the world, and of course with the highest quality. And when I talk about quality, I mean the two most important things about quality are not taste, as most people think. The two most important things about quality are being clean from chemical residues, and the second thing is clean from bacterial microbiology hazards. You know, like the E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, Listeria, all of these things that kill people. It's thought that a few dozen people die every year from eating contaminated vegetables in the United States. It's not spoken about because there's a very strong lobby preventing it from being on the public's agenda. But I'm more interested in the tens of thousands of people that get sick, not that die, but just get sick from eating vegetables that are not grown properly, that are not grown clean enough, and that have bacterial diseases in them. Most of them, by the way, come from the animal kingdom, from animal manure, which is sometimes used, especially in the organic growing. And the USDA is very concerned about it, and everybody acknowledges and knows that hydroponics is one of, if not the only solution for growing clean and efficient. But in order to do that, you need to have the technology, otherwise it's too expensive. Everybody knows hydroponics is the best quality, but everybody also knows or thinks that hydroponics is too expensive. Well, we can grow, because of the automation that we apply, we can grow hydroponic produce for lower costs than traditional farming. So that means that we have the opportunity to take a major part of the vegetable production in the United States, and that the only thing standing between that and us is being able to manage it all, being able to set up the farms efficiently enough, hire the right people, do the training, and not make business mistakes. And being here, I have to say, encourages me, seeing all the support and help that everybody is willing to offer. And that gives us comfort that we may just be able to pull this off and build hundreds of these farms in the East Coast, starting in Connecticut, because that's where we decided to start, and so we're here. So I thank the Jewish Federation for asking us here and for inviting us over and for making us feel at home. And we really do feel at home here. It's difficult for us to come all this way. It is a long distance, but the help we get and the support that everybody is showing us makes us really feel that this may just be the right place for us, and we really thank you for this. We have some samples, like Brad said, so please don't leave them here. Everybody take some home, and look for our products at your grocer, and if he doesn't have them, ask him why. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here tonight. So many fruitful conversations coming from tonight's program, and hope that we will keep us posted and use this as a resource to help further these connections. Just wanted to say that, is Commissioner Smith still here? You know, she mentioned that it takes a village, but it not only took a village, but it took the spark of an idea that started this initiative. And I was reminded, I wasn't here, but over 5 years ago, Judy Singer and Laura and a bunch of other people had an idea, and they jotted it down on a napkin. And tonight is the fulfillment of what they imagined has come true. So I would like to just applaud the people who had that original idea. I invite you all to share in the rest of the dessert, whatever's left. Visit the tables from our sponsors, and just never forget, today is Yom Ha'atzmaut, right? We're celebrating Israel independence, but I also want us to remember that we should never underestimate the power of imagination. Thank you.